Hola, user Rene. This time we are going to talk about the Portugal Golden Visa. As you know, if you apply for the visa, you might have a few choices, like create a company with 10 jobs, invest the recovery of cultural heritage, or investment funds. So among these topics, I guess investment funds is quite easy and more reasonable. So today I'm with Vasco, the experienced lawyer at real estate and investment, and he will tell us more about it.
Sure, thank you, Rene. So, as Rene was saying, last October the Golden Visa law changed, and from October the real estate investment was no longer an option. We know that this was the most popular option among all the other options. Since the change of the law, we felt that the investors still need to understand the options we have at the moment, and right now by far the most popular option is the investment fund option. It is important to explain a little bit how it works, because most of the investors were used to buying a property, which is easier, and apply for the golden visa. With the investment fund, in terms of process, I could say that it's easier for the investor and for us in terms of paperwork, but of course we need to explain it to the investor. So when you invest in an investment fund, the minimum required amount is 500,000 euro, and the funds need to fulfill some legal requirements for the golden visa. The most important ones are the fund. 60% of the companies where the fund will invest need to be based in Portugal. The maturity of the fund needs to be of at least 6 years. This is to cover the golden visa process. And what is important here is to understand that at the moment you have a huge amount of available funds. And what the clients need to do, and this is why we are here, is to make sure that the fund you choose is a fund that qualifies you for the golden visa. Because there are many funds in the market. We have CMVM, who is the regulator here in Portugal that approves any fund, but for the golden visa you cannot invest in any fund. You need to choose a fund that fulfill the legal requirements for the golden visa. Okay, so this is very important. So among these funds you can find all kinds of different investments. So if you are someone used to invest in your life, you might be able to choose something that it's more similar to a regular fund, a private equity fund, where you can invest with higher risks and higher gains, of course, maybe something around 15 to 20%, which is a lot, but of course the risk is higher. Or if you are an investor who are basically investing for the golden visa, you don't want to take that many risks, you have some funds that offer very low gains, around 6 to 7%, which is not bad. If you compare this to a property purchase, here you might have a really nice profit with a property purchase. It wasn't that sure. You could rent a property, of course, but it's different here. This is a product of investment where you are putting your money expecting a return, and the funds where you will invest, this is their only job. They have money from many investors, and their last goal is to have some return for the investors. Most of the times, I won't say 100%, but most of the times, the fund itself, the representatives of the fund, people who work there, are also investors in the fund. So this, if I were an investor, gives me some confidence that they will do the best they can to have success. As I was telling, in terms of funds, you have a huge variety of funds where you can invest. So if you are not a professional, but someone with experience with investing, you have the typical ones. If, for example, you are someone, this is just as an example, if you are someone interested in matters as environment, there are funds in Portugal designed for the golden visa, for example, with solar panels, where you can invest in something that, if you are into that specific area, it's interesting. Some funds focus on agriculture. This is also just to give you an idea that nowadays the funds that usually someone, a regular investor, imagine as, okay, I will invest in stock actions of famous companies. You have that, of course, but you also have a great variety of options, from hospitality, tourism, agriculture, renewable energy. So basically nowadays anything you want to invest, there is a high it's highly probable that you will find a fund focus on that. As I was telling you, our job here is, as we did with the property purchase, is to focus on the due diligence, to make sure that the fund fulfills the legal requirements for the Golden Visa, that the fund is duly regulated and registered with CMVM. Once that is completed, the investment process is pretty straightforward. Basically, just like the real estate Golden Visa option, you need to have a taxpayer number, of course, NIF, NIF. You need to have a Portuguese bank account. You need to transfer the funds from your account abroad into your Portuguese bank account. And from your Portuguese bank account, you will make the investment, you'll make a transfer for the investment fund. With that, we complete the investment. We will have some declarations from the bank, from the fund, of course. With those documents, plus some personal documents such as the passport, criminal record, we can then submit the Golden Visa application. So it is very important to note that in terms of process, the fund did not bring complexity. So in terms of process, of course, we don't have a promissory contract, but we have some documents from the fund. But in terms of timings, this one is faster when compared to a property purchase, much faster, because there is no negotiation with the seller, nothing like that. It's much more straightforward. Therefore, this is, in my opinion, just a matter of the investor to choose the fund that suits his taste, his convenience. We are here to help with that. We have many collaborations. We know the market pretty well. We are based in Lisbon. We have been operating for many years now, so we know the market pretty well, and we can put you in touch with any kind of fund you need. And of course, we'll take care of the due diligence before you commit, before you sign any document, so that you can be sure that the option you are doing is the best option, legally speaking. Then the commercial part of the investment, or the financial decision, is of course from the client, from the investor. Just like the property, we do not choose which property the client would buy. We give our perspective from a legal point of view.
So how about when during these 5 years the fund drops?
No, but no problem with that. Once again, comparing it with real estate, I'm doing this comparison because I believe it's easier for the investor to understand. If we give the real estate example, it's the same. So most of the clients over the last few years, when they buy a property in Portugal, let's say in Lisbon, they are not buying a property ready to move in. They are buying something off plan. And there is always a risk that the contractor might go to bankruptcy. What happens in those cases? The same. You have made your investment, you have submitted your application, you have fulfilled your legal obligations. That is not something that we expect regarding the investment funds. And although this option was not the most popular because we had real estate, it's an option that we have for many years now. We have helped many clients over the years with this kind of investment. And as far as I know, of course, there might be some cases, but as far as I know, no fund went to bankruptcy over the 12 years that we have now since the Golden Visa started, at least in Portugal. But once again, legally speaking, and regarding the Golden Visa process, there is no problem. You have made your investment, you have a proof from your investment fund and from your Portuguese bank saying that all these amounts were paid. Everything is okay with your application, and for the application and for the renewals, that's what matters. Okay, so first things first, and the first thing, and because without that, what I will explain, you can do nothing in Portugal. We need to take care of the taxpayer number. So usually, to give you a timeline, and what we usually do is we have a first video call, or if the client is in Portugal, we will be pleased to meet the client here in Lisbon or in Porto, where we have offices. The first thing is to understand what the client wants. If they are bringing family members, for example, this is not relevant for the investment, but is relevant for the second stage of the process, the immigration part. And then, of course, sign a power of attorney. With that, we can start the process of issuing the taxpayer number. Once we have the NIF, we will take care of the bank account. For the investment funds, we recommend some specific banks because they are more focused on this kind of investment. But we work with any bank that the client wishes, of course. And usually, while we are taking care of the NIF and the bank account, the client is choosing the fund. We can put them in touch with any fund they want. Sometimes they ask us, look, I don't know any fund, can you put me in touch? And of course, sometimes they tell me, look, I want to invest in this fund, can you check it? Of course, that's part of our job all the time. Even those funds we work with, we will always proceed with the due diligence, with the report, with all the conditions of the fund to make sure that they fulfill the legal requirements for the Golden Visa. Once that part is approved, we have the NIF, we have the bank account, the client, the investor transfers the funds to his Portuguese bank account. Once we have the funds here, we complete the investment. Once we do that, the fund, within usually a week or less, they will send us the declaration from the fund saying that this client invested and purchased X amount of units from the fund. Then we ask the bank, the Portuguese bank of the investor, the same declaration saying this person transferred this amount of money to this account. This money was used to invest here on this date. With those documents, plus the personal documents that we have mentioned before, we will submit the investor application. Once we submit the investor application, a couple of days later, this is a system issue because you cannot submit at the same day. You need to first pay the submission fee, and then you can submit the family members 48 hours later. Then you can submit all the family members, spouse, children, parents. It's all the same way as the real estate Golden Visa. As you mentioned at the beginning, I just want to say that before the Golden Visa law change in October, we had 7 investment options. Of course, most of the people don't even know about the existence of the others because they were focused on the real estate side. Right now, they heard about the funds and they are focused on the funds. We still have 5 options of investment. As a lawyer working with Golden Visa for a few years now, my recommendation for most of the clients is, of course, the funds or the donation for the cultural heritage that you mentioned. Why? These options we know, not to be laxy, but as a lawyers we know as a community, that's IMA, the immigration agency, has already approved many investors who invested in either the funds or using the donation. The other options are tricky because based on our experience we know that previously it was called CEF, now it's called IMA. They have rejected most of the applications because the law is not that clear, and so they don't want to approve something that might not be correct, so they just reject. And then if you want, you can appeal and show your reasons, present your reasons. But at the moment, our suggestion is the funds, the donation, which is half of the price, 250,000 euro. But this is important to mention. In this case of the donation, it's a donation. It's not an investment, so you are not expecting a return on your investment because you will not have. You are donating to a foundation, association related to culture in Portugal, and the process is very straightforward. The same as I mentioned: taxpayer number, bank account. You choose an association, a foundation. There is a list, a public list of the approved projects. For example, a foundation can have several projects approved. There is some of our clients who have invested in 2024 using this donation process have chosen Serralves Foundation, which is a very famous foundation in Porto, with very interesting projects. But once again, here you are not expecting a return. You are donating your money. The other investment routes, we have done a few we are still waiting for approval by IMA related to the job creation, the 10 job creation. There is a gray area in this because, as I was telling, this was an option available since many years, but no one was choosing this. Therefore, we need to expect to have, and we are doing it now. We have at least 3 clients that chose this option. They invested in a company, an existing company, and they need to keep those 10 workers. Legally speaking, all they need to do is to make sure that the company has the 10 workers. They will keep the 10 workers. The client invested 500,000, 500,000. In terms of the investor, that's all we need to do. We have submitted the application. What we need now is to wait for IMA's approval, because we talk among other lawyers, and what we know is that a lot of people is choosing this option now, not as the fund, but a lot of people is choosing, and we need to see how IMA will respond to all these applications. So we know that if they start approving one, that model will be replicated by all the other companies, and we are free to go. All the companies will be accepted. If at the beginning it can be expected that they will reject one or the first or the second application, the companies will need to adjust, or the lawyers, this is our job, will need to reply to IMA's rejection, and from then it will of course be approved, and we have a new option that we can say is as easy as the fund. But for the moment, we have more experience. When I say we, not Lexity, all the lawyers have more experience with the funds, because we have proof that many clients have been approved. It's very straightforward. So if the investor wants something that they know, okay, if I choose this fund that Lexity is telling me it's okay, it will be approved, the investment fund might be the best route at the moment.
Okay. So about the new law, it starts from January. It says the calculation of the residence period. So what is it about? Submission of the temporary residence permit. What is that?
So that's a very good question. Unfortunately, at the moment we cannot give you, or I cannot give you the direct answer. Why? The law is not very clear. So just to clarify, regardless what the law, we are waiting for the regulation, will say, this is very good news for the applicants. Why? As everybody knows, the processes in Portugal are taking too long. There is a huge backlog of applications. The processes are taking too long. What the law for the citizenship says is that after 5 years of legal residency, you can apply for the citizenship. And what this new law wants is, I don't like this word, but some people use it to compensate the applicants for the waiting time, for the backlog people are facing. So we have at the moment 3 possible scenarios. The first one is that the start for the 5 years will start counting from the moment we submit the client's application online. This would basically mean that the clients would save 2 years. A second and not as good understanding is that the clock would start counting from the moment the application is pre-approved. This would mean that the client would save around 7 to 8 months. The last one, and the worst case scenario, is that it would be counted from the moment you have your biometrics. This would save you 3 to 6 months, not that much. But so in any case, in any of the 3 cases, this means that the clients, the investors, will save some time. But of course, I know it's very different if you compare the last option with the first one. The first one means that once you have your Golden Visa residency card, you need to have around 3 years of legal residency to apply for the citizenship. So everybody, and I know that not the lawyers, but most of the developers or the funds are choosing to say that is the first option, which is not clear yet. We are waiting for the regulation. So just so you know, this law came into force on April 1st, so 2 weeks ago. We are waiting for the regulation that will come. We expect as soon as possible, but will be within the next few months, so that we can have a clear understanding of what they wanted to say in the law. If that does not happen, what will happen is that some people that will understand that the 5 years start counting from the moment of the online submission will start applying for the citizenship because they have fulfilled the 5 years. And then we'll need to wait for the answer from the Portuguese authorities to see what do they decide. If they approve, if they accept this, or if they don't accept, they will share an explanation of when they consider that the clocks start counting.
So I think Vasco explained very clear. If you still have questions, you can write it down in the comments or send me emails. I will get back to Vasco for the answers. So if you didn't subscribe to my channel, please subscribe to my channel and share with your friends. Okay, see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you.